Hey everyone, welcome to another video. I am Christine and today I'm going to be sharing with you our 2022 homeschool read-alouds. Hey everyone, I am doing our annual review of our homeschool read-alouds that we went through this year. If you're new, I am a homeschooling mom of 3 kids and this is our 3rd full year of homeschooling, and I'm just excited to share with you what we read, what we thought about it. Most of them I've got here as physical books. We read a couple of ebooks, maybe just one ebook. No, 2 ebooks. But these are the ones that we own and I've got at home. And I thought I would just share our thoughts on them. I did this same video last year and you guys seemed to really enjoy it. Pretty sure I was also wearing the same shirt in the same video last year. So, but it's cooler, like I'm wearing a cardigan over it. So I don't know. So let's just get started. The way I structure our read-alouds typically is I like to find a series and we read a more challenging book over breakfast. So when I say more challenging, it's like the vocabulary is a little bit more challenging for my kids. I like to push them a little bit in that area. And then we read a kind of an easier book, maybe a little bit more fluffy book in the afternoon. And I did that for all 5 of our terms except for the 6th term. I didn't add in a second book for our 6th term because that's a term where we're kind of just winding down the year and we just want to be outside at lunch. We don't want to be inside reading books. So I'm going to go through the singular books because we read a series in the morning and then we read other books in the afternoon, just like one-off books. So the ones that we read, the first one we started with was the Green Ember series. And that was an ebook, so I can't show it to you. And I'd heard good things about it, and so I got it, and we just did not get into it, honestly. The chapters are super long, first of all, and my kids just did not engage in it. I think that they will enjoy it when they get a bit older, and I've also since read that it takes a while to get into the first book, but then once you're into it, it's good. I feel like we got like halfway through it, and we're still like... So, I don't know. I just didn't care for it that much. I don't want to put people off of it, but I would say maybe if you have older kids. So for reference, for the vast majority of this year, my kids were 3, 5, and 7. And they're very used to having chapter books read aloud to them. So I know a lot of people are like, you're reading this book to your kid. But honestly, I've been doing it since my eldest was 4. So they've literally grown up listening to me read chapter books. So that one we just didn't really care for. We then read A Little Princess. And my kids actually really enjoyed this. I was surprised that my son enjoyed it as much as he did because I thought the title would actually put him off. He is a boy's boy and he just does not want anything to do with anything that might be classed as girly. It's just who he is. So I was surprised that he enjoyed it, but he does. He's also my kid who loves poetry. So, you know, you can be a man's man and still love some more sensitive and delicate things. But he enjoyed this. We all enjoyed this. It was nice to read the actual book. I had watched the movie. I loved the movie as a kid. But we read the book. And then we actually watched the movie as well. And it was great to see the differences. Like, we always read the book first and then watch the movie if we can. And that's fun for my kids to do at the end of term. It was kind of like a treat. Oh, let's watch the movie. Yeah, they liked it. There was some harder topics in here to discuss, you know, like death of parents and things like that, but overall it has a happy ending and it works through some really good topics, so my kids enjoyed that. The next book that we read was Alice in Wonderland, and this looks like a very thick book, but there's actually 2 books in here. The other side is 5 Little Papers and How They Grew. Alice in Wonderland, I just want to say I have never liked the movie Alice in Wonderland. Like, never liked it. To me, it's like a fever dream. Like, nothing makes sense. It's just frustrating and confusing and scary, and I've just never liked it. So let's read the book. The book will be better. The book was not better. It was just the same, if not worse. I did not like it. I don't even think we finished the last chapter of it. My kids were okay with it, but I didn't tell them we didn't finish the last chapter, and they never asked about it, so... Yeah, I just don't think it's necessary. Some kids might like it. I don't know. If you love Alice in Wonderland, raise your hand in the comments because I've heard a lot of people who dislike it, so I'd love to know who does like it. It would be interesting. Okay, the next book we read was Nate Saint, which this is a biography of Nate Saint, who helped Jim Elliot. He was a very integral part of the ministry down there in Ecuador. And they were, I mean, I'm going to spoil the plots if your kids are listening. I'm going to spoil the ending. They were martyred. They died trying to reach people for the Lord. And his was actually one of my favorite stories as a child. And for that reason, I got it for my kids, because I just wanted them to start hearing these kinds of stories. I just think that they're amazing. I think that these people were very selfless, and it also just points my kids towards a more eternal focus, and that's what I want for them. And so this was really good. I would say my son probably enjoyed this the most, my 7-year-old. My daughter, it was kind of over her head for the most part, but it was very interesting for him, and I recommend the series. I've read a few of these myself, and I've got a few on my bookshelf for the kids going forward. So that was a good one. And then another one that we read as an ebook that my kids absolutely loved and I enjoyed so much, we'd never read it before, was The Boxcar Children. And I had seen it recommended many times in homeschool groups, so I thought, hey, we'll pick this up. It was a very easy read, very light, but also just lovely, just really wholesome and lovely, and my kids really enjoyed it. So that was a nice one, and I'd like to continue reading that series with them at different points. But we'll see, because next year is going to be full, and I will talk to you about that in a future video. Okay, then the series that we read this year. So those other books were ones that we read over lunchtime. This is a series we read over breakfast, and I can't even tell you how much I enjoyed reading this series to my kids. It's the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. I collected all of these books from the secondhand store as I found them. I just absolutely loved reading this series. Probably like my all-time favorite series now. It's just incredible. So well written. And just my children really enjoyed it. My son really enjoyed it, but all of them did to an extent. My 3-year-old, now 4, probably will definitely reread them at one point, because she certainly didn't take in everything. But yeah, I had only ever read the first book, so I had no idea what happened in the rest of the series, and just, it was amazing. So I asked my kids what their favorite book was, and they said it was the first one, The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I can understand, because it's just fun. So that's this one. And we read it in publication order. We didn't read it in chronological order. And that was actually really cool, because there would be things from other books, and you'd be like, oh, hey, I remember that. Or, you know, like you would connect the dots a lot of the time. And that was a lot of fun. So Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe was the first one we read. And I'm not going to be able to remember the order that we read them in. So I'm just going to go through the books that are sitting here and tell you what we thought of all of them. So that was my kids' favorite. You guys, I just had a moment. I'm just looking down at these books in my hand, and I thought we had read the entire series. We have not read the entire series. There is one more book we haven't read. I'm so excited. And I actually Googled this and was like, where is this story? Because they kept referring to these characters in the book. And I was like, when are we going to read about these people? And I was like, there's no book about them. I don't understand. There is a book about them. The Magician's Nephew. I don't know why we haven't read this one yet. That is bizarre that we haven't read this one, but we haven't. So The Magician's Nephew is one that we're probably now going to read over the summer. So we didn't read that one, so I can't even like give you any feedback on this. But this follows Polly and Diggory, who are, Lord Diggory's actually the professor. When the kids in The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, they're sent to his house. This story is all about him, and so I'm excited to read this with the kids now. I cannot believe that I didn't read that with the kids. Oh my word, I don't even know how I managed to do that. The Horse and His Boy. This one was good. I did find the language was a bit more advanced in this one, and my kids struggled with that a little bit, but they still enjoyed it. Like they still engaged in it. It was still fun. It was still interesting. But probably the one that was more advanced, just the way it was written. Prince Caspian, my kids loved this one. It was really good. The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, I would say this was probably Jack's second favorite one. He loved this one. I enjoyed this one too. It was just really cool. The Silver Chair, again, was a great one. Probably not the kids' favorite. I don't know. It probably sits right around The Horse and His Boy. These two are probably kind of like the same for them. And then my absolute favorite was The Last Battle. And this is the series conclusion, and it was just amazing. When you're reading it as a Christian, the symbolism in it is just like the last 2 chapters made me weep. It was just beautiful. And C.S. Lewis is just an incredibly talented writer. I loved this. So I've been asked, like, what is the right age group to read this with? My kids were young. I just am not, I don't know, like, you have to use your parental discretion. I'm not afraid to discuss difficult topics with my children. I don't filter the Bible, and a lot of what is written about in these books is based on that, like the symbolism in there. And so I didn't have any problem with it. There was some language in there that was appropriate once upon a time and is no longer appropriate, and so we just had discussions about that. But I would rather personally have those discussions in a healthy way than just ignore it or just avoid reading books because of it. That's just how I view things, and I prefer to do it. So I still cannot believe that we missed a book. But it makes sense because I planned for 6 terms and I must have just miscounted. So you guys, I do not have it all together, clearly. But now we have a book to read. I need to look up in what order that came and how on earth I managed to skip past it. Everything else makes a whole lot more sense now, so just forgive me. You can laugh at my expense. It's fine. But those are our read-alouds we did this year, and next year I'm very excited for our read-alouds because we have a lot coming, and I'm so excited to share with you. So any questions for me, leave them down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
The world had more of your smile. What if the wind could spread